everybody. Today we'll talk about communication and especially different typing forms in communication. In business, we have three type of communications. Number one, email, memo, and meeting agenda, reports and newsletters, and resume and cover letters. So we'll talk about these three things primarily in this class. What is email? We don't need to tell you. You are already using email on your phone. Transaction doesn't mean that only money is getting transacted. It is communication as well. Emails is primarily primary mode of communication in the business. It is professional and competence. It is reflecting what we are in the business world, and it is very critical for conveying information, making requests, building relationship, and many more things. It can also use as a proof of communication that I sent you this email last week and you have not taken any action. So we have to ensure and we need to see if we are promptly responding to emails or not. For students, it becomes very important to know that subject line is critical. If we don't have subject line, if we leave it blank, it means it is not professional and the teachers may or may not open your email because there is no subject line. Subject line means what is the topic of this email. So the component is first subject line, then greeting, then body, closing, and signature. Do you have these things? Answer is no, not all the time. Now, subject line must be clear and specific. Greeting should be tailored to recipient. Do not write dear sir or madam. Write dear first name or dear Mr. or Miss, whatever, then last name. Body should be clear, concise, in paragraphs, proper paragraphs. Maybe you might need to use some bullet points if required. Clothing should have politeness and call to action if applicable. You must mention at last what do you expect from this email? What recipient needs to do? They are expecting to know what do you want. And then signature should be professional format. You should have your contact information mentioned there. One important part is you must respond to emails promptly. Avoid abbreviations and slangs. But still people use abbreviations like EOD, ASAP. These things are common for official purposes, but don't use more abbreviations like informal ones. Never use slang. Oh, and being respectful and courteous. Respectful means never write anything which may disrespect somebody. Email, I told you it's a proof all the time and it will stay there forever. So it can be used against you. Make sure you must use proofreading and editing before sending that email. Common mistakes are inappropriate tone. What is this tone? That's the challenge. If somebody is from not from English speaking country, first challenge is translating the thought process into English is biggest challenge for those candidates who are not very good in English. Converting your language to English is it's a big task. And by doing that, people keep forgetting. Oh, keep, what is the tone of this email? Is it rude or what kind of tone I'm writing here? And people don't check grammar and spelling errors and overuse reply all. Yes, reply all is very important. We must use reply to all, but sometimes it is not required. Make sure you reply to all the time, but don't overuse it. And forward that email without permission. Ask them, can I forward your email to my colleagues or whatever? This is important for a business purposes. Okay. So best practices, we have to think of importance of professionalism and clarity, right? And now I'm going to show you some example of that. Give me a second. As you can see here, which is an example email with a clear subject line, right? We should have a clear subject line here and then dear or whatever the salutation is, introduction, then paragraph properly, and then this is the call to action with phone number and thank you with your name and details. Okay. And we can also use artificial intelligence to write these emails. The purpose of using artificial intelligence is not to ask them to write an email for this. No, write some content, write some detailed description line wise that what you want to write, and then ask your AI assistant like ChatGPT or Grammarly to complete that email for you. Let's see few more example. Quotation email. This is the example of that. Asking for feedback. This is how we can have asking for feedback emails and so on. Let's go to presentation again. Let's talk about memo. Memorandum or memo is used to communicate something of immediate importance to people within a business or organization. Memo also can be sent to people or firms that have close or long-standing relationship, such as vendors or consultants. Like a business letter, a memo is a permanent record of your communication. It is used in both paper and electronic formats. Since you may know the people you are writing, a memo may appear less formal than a business letter, but it is not. It is formal. It is not a text message, a blog posting, and it should not include emoticons like emojis, cartoons, or anything cute. Be professional and polite. It is an efficient way to communicate within an organization. Formality and professionalism is conveying the information, documenting decisions, policies, and announcements. It is one-way communication. Structure, header, to, from, date, subject, body. CC means carbon copy and attachments if required. Header, it means identification of memo, what the memo is going to say. To and from, it means specific recipients and the sender. Date, current date of memo. Subject line means concise summary of the memo content. Body should be clear, concise, organized information. CC is optional, if applicable, carbon copy. Attachment, additional materials, if needed. Tone and language should be professional, informal. Clarity should be clear in concise communication. Consistent and professional layout must be used. Ensure you must proofread it. Common mistakes are lack of clarity and specificity, inappropriate tone or language, neglecting proofreading and editing. Meeting agenda. It facilitates organized and productive meetings, set clear objectives and expectations, maximizes use of participants' time. What is it? If you want to invite somebody in your meeting next week, you must write meeting agenda properly so that they can see what it is and why should they join it. Structure, like meeting title, date, time, and location. Attendees who are going to attend them. Agenda items, time allotted for each item. Other businesses, if applicable. Next meeting date and adjournments. Tips for creating effective meeting agenda is prioritize agenda items based on importance and time constraints. Most important things must be discussed first. Include brief description or objectives for each agenda item. Allocate realistic time for discussion of each item. Sometimes we write 2 minutes to discuss something. Oh no, it's not practically possible. 5 minutes discussion on something may not be adequate. You must have 5 minutes buffer to discuss something because we may deviate a little bit and we might need to hear others' viewpoint as well. Professionalism in meeting agenda creation. It should be clear and concise. You must have consistent formatting and organization of content. Distribution to participants in well and advance. Do not send meeting agenda just half an hour before the meeting starts. Common mistakes? Overloading the agenda with too many items. What to do with that? If you have too many items, break down that meeting into multiple meetings. Not allocating sufficient time for discussion. Failing to communicate agenda changes in advance. If you have changes, must convey in advance. People need time to prepare. Let's talk about reports. Reports provide comprehensive information on business activities, progress, and analysis. Guides decision-making processes, serves as a record for future reference. Structure and content. It could be analytical report, progress report, feasibility report, research report, and so on. Report just means that you had some data, you had some information, you collected it for the specific purpose, and based on that, you create a report and submit to the desired audience. If you have to send a report to CEO, what will you do? Make sure you use graphical elements more. Do not use lots of tables and words. If you are sending report to CFO office, finance officer, then you must include all the details properly for the finance. Depend on the audience must modify the report. Common components for the report. You can add or remove these elements based on the requirement. You must use title page, table of content, executive summary, introduction, main body. Main body means all the report elements with the explanation, and then conclusion and recommendation, and then references or appendices. Appendices or appendix means you add explanation of something at the back so that your actual report doesn't look too heavy. Report will finish in 10 pages and then you will have appendices of 20 pages to explain these terms. Structure. Now, tips for creating effective report. Tailor the report to the audience needs and expectations. Like I told you, CEO don't need 100 pages. Give that report in few words and with graphics. Organize information logically and coherently. It should flow logically. Use clear language and visuals to enhance understanding. Professionalism in report writing is accuracy and thoroughness. Consistent formatting and style. We are focusing on formatting and style all the time. Do you know why? Writing something with the right format is equally important as your content is. Sometimes it is more important. Have you ever seen Coca-Cola logo which is misplaced with the different colors? Answer is no. All these brands are very particular on the content and formatting. You cannot even change 2% color in any brand logo. They have brand guidelines for that. So understand whatever we do for the company, whatever report, memo, email we write, make sure it be well formatted with the pre-defined or company specific styles. And in report must use proper citation and references. Common mistakes look like neglecting to proofread and audit, overloading the report with unnecessary information. You have done lots of research. It doesn't mean that it should be just shared with all the participants as it is. Remove things that are not required for that particular report. Failing to provide clear conclusion and recommendation. What is the purpose of this report? We must be able to provide that conclusion and recommendation. Now, let's move to newsletter. We get newsletters often from multiple brands, and newsletters can be used for internal and external audiences. We used to call it newsletter because it was actually printed a letter containing some news. But now we are using newsletters in email format. Now, what is that? It is one-way communication where you provide some information audience, based on the audience and based on audience preferences. It builds and maintains relationship with the stakeholders, provide update on company news, events, and promotions, showcases expertise, and reinforces the brand identity. Usually, here we use header and logo properly, table of content if applicable, if it is a big newsletter. Usually, we have one-page newsletters nowadays that do in email. Feature articles or sections, images and visuals, and CTA, call to action. than contact information. Tips for creating an engaging newsletter with define a purpose and target audience. Use a consistent layout and a design. Include a mix of content type, articles, testimonials, and infographics. Keep content concise and relevant. Encourage interaction and feedback from readers. Professionalism in newsletter creation, proofreading for accuracy and clarity, consistent branding and messaging, compliance with legal and ethical standards like GDPR in European countries, most common mistakes and best practices, sending newsletters too frequently or infrequently, ignoring mobile responsiveness, neglecting to track and analyze performance metrics. Resume. Resume should be customized for every individual position. What is it? It means whenever we apply for a job, do we need to customize it? Answer is yes. If you don't customize, don't expect that you will get a call. An applicant tracking system ATS is a software that acts as a database for job applicants and help businesses to manage job posting, screen resumes, reject them, rank candidates, and generate interview requests. A recruiter or hiring manager may never see a resume unless it is selected by the ATS. Cover letter. A cover letter or letter of application is used to introduce your resume, highlight the candidate's strength in terms of benefit to the employer. It doesn't mean that I am the superhero. No, I am the person who can create value for your company and gain an interview. The cover letter plays a vital role in getting your selection for the interview. Right? So I'm going to describe resume and cover letter in detail.